You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Live coverage begins on Typhoon Gaemi. I don't know why Beryl's still there. It's supposed to say Gaemi, but it says Beryl. I don't know why that is. We're still hungover, clearly, from the Beryl era. We had that very strong hurricane. It's the last time we did a live stream. I'll have to go and fix that. You'll have to put up with it for the time being. Most of the rest of the stuff has been corrected, though, and we'll be able to sort that out soon. But you get the idea with Typhoon Gaemi, which is still strengthening at this time. We're still yet to really see the eye emerge, but there's still a lot of time ahead of it to become even stronger before it gets to the coast of Taiwan, and we are expecting strong typhoon conditions for some of the island, mainly along the east coast, of course. We're doing a little bit of testing on our stream, so we're a little bit rusty at the start of this. Again, that's a Category 1 icon at the bottom there, and it should be a Category 2 because that's the intensity we're giving it right now. 105 miles per hour and an estimated pressure of 958 millibars. So the storm has been strengthening a lot since last night, or this morning as it was actually, where it was already reached typhoon status, and is now on its way towards major typhoon status, which I think it's going to get to. Well, my name's Nathan Foy in the studio. Hopefully there's no glitches with the webcam. Well, there I am, and I'm also joined by a couple of people here as well. Over there too, we have Kin, who joins us from the Philippines, which has also been under warnings as well, and we also have Farhan as well with us too. So hello to both of you. Your thoughts on this typhoon? It's not a huge surprise to see something like this. We've seen over time on the forecast, or in history I should say, quite a few storms have made major typhoon landfalls on Taiwan in July, but this is just another threat to be looking out for now.
Well, it's been dropping heavy rainfall. As some of our viewers may know, the southwest monsoon was being enhanced by Typhoon Gaemi, which is just now dropping 73.5 millimeters per hour rainfall at Reagan.
That's a poor quality signal there, but we get the idea. What was that rainfall?
73, that's what he said. 73 something. I did not really know what the rest of it is, he said.
Well, from what we have been seeing, it has been very high amounts of rainfall, and at the moment we are still expecting an extra 450 millimeters in parts of northwestern Luzon. And for Taiwan right now, it is looking as to the northern side, while it's the southern side there, as we look at this projection, forecasting 48 inches of rain. Now that is 1,200 millimeters, so very high amount there. We're working on fixing that bar, which still says Beryl, but it should be Gaemi, because Beryl was the last storm we covered. It shouldn't say that. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We can take your questions on the air right now as well. We've also got quite a few viewpoints from Taiwan today or tonight. And I'm going to take you through some of those whenever I can get hold of them. Well, this is looking at Taipei at this time. Of course, it is still a fair distance away from the storm. On the other side of Taiwan, Mansu, on near the southern tip of Taiwan, is there somewhere, and I don't know what's happened to that picture. Oh, there it is. That's the closest side to the storm at this point, and it actually is still looking very calm there too. So calm conditions prevailing right now as we get closer to the typhoon arriving. Here's another later on. Now, when we're talking about the impact for the storm, it's probably going to begin during the early part of tomorrow, and the full force of the storm will probably arrive by Wednesday evening. Now, we are once again trialing some multi-streaming today too, so we are live on YouTube and Facebook right now. I've gonna have to check my comms and whether it's working properly or not. I think it is, so it's nice to welcome people from both platforms there. We're hoping to get onto some other ones as well, but we couldn't get it set up. That ding means that I can update that bottom bar and it will no longer say Beryl. Sorry about those who have a nervous disposition, might be having nightmares about that storm. Well, it's gone.
Go away, Beryl. Go away.
Yeah, very much so. I have been struggling to get some satellite imagery sorted in time, but let's look at here's first radar images though. The storm is starting to appear on the wide-ranging radar, and if we pan the camera up a little bit, you should see. Oh, those are actually the southernmost Ryukyu Islands there at the top. So Taiwan is on the left there as the storm gets closer, and it is pounding the coast of eastern Taiwan with a few heavy rain bands right now. Of course, we know firsthand from experience that the mountains of Taiwan completely shred storms up, don't they?
Yeah, that is has been historically been the case, and of course, weren't mentioned to storm hitting Taiwan for like a few years. There was a bit of a hot streak of them just seemingly just reflecting typhoon landfall left and center. It was kind of crazy, but of course that's no longer the case. Last year, they finally get a typhoon landfall after 7 years, I think. But yeah, usually storms that when barreling straight into the mouth of Taiwan, they usually get absolutely shredded by the time they get to the other side. It's very rare for a storm to be maintaining enough of a structure after they made landfall in Taiwan to be enough of, well, it will mostly still be a relatively strong storm, but it wouldn't be the same when it emerges into the Taiwan Strait and into China. So I guess that side of China that is on the Taiwan Strait could sort of count themselves a bit lucky because they're not being hit by as many bad storms as they could have been, because Taiwan has been acting a bit of a shield for them. I guess it's a bit the same to the Philippines to Vietnam to a lesser degree, or maybe even more so, considering that Taiwan is just one solid island instead of thousands of small ones.
Now, this is the JTWC cone showing the storm's original or initial intensity earlier today at 90 knots, 105 miles per hour. I think that's a fair estimate right now. I would struggle to give it a higher reading without actually seeing an eye start to pop out. We haven't really seen it yet. Interesting from the JTWC, though, that they are forecasting rapid strengthening from here on in. That forecast there is showing 125 miles per hour Category 3 by early hours of tomorrow morning local time, and then 140 mile per hour Category 4 by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, and then landfall, and then it will still be a Category 1 by the time it moves into China. Just read out the prognostic reasoning from them. Satellite analysis, initial position, intensity discussion. Vertical wind shear has decreased significantly over the past 12 hours with a more vertically aligned vortex and improved radial outflow. Consequently, animated enhanced infrared satellite imagery, that's a mouthful, depicts an improved, more symmetric central dense overcast. That's all that cloud cover there, with an incipient eye feature evident after 7Z this morning. Maybe signs of it. Earlier on, AMSR2 microwave pass revealed a compact core surrounding a well-defined microwave eye feature which supports the initial position with high confidence, and an ASCAP bullseye image was used to adjust the 34-knot wind radii analysis and reflects expansive gale force winds over the eastern semicircle. Upper level analysis indicates a highly favourable environment with robust eastward outflow enhanced by the TUTT position to the east and very strong broad equatorward outflow. Sea surface temperatures still remain very high, oceanic heat content very high, supportive for rapid intensification. They've given a high confidence on that wind speed right now at 105 miles per hour. If we just switch on these models, we'll be able to take a look at what the GFS is showing for the next few days. And it won't be much of a surprise to see that the storm strengthens a little bit further. Here it is, and that is the latest GFS. They're briefly calling for very rapid strengthening, a very brief peak, has to be said there, probably category 4, and then rapid decline just before it reaches land, and then still just holding on to typhoon conditions by the time it moves into China. One thing I've also noticed, though, is that what's left of the storm continues northwards and actually produces a lot of rain in northern China later on.
That's going to be lovely for them, I suppose. Well, no, I shouldn't be joking like this, but yeah, because China over the last few years have had like severe chronic flooding problems, not just from typhoons directly, but other non-typhoons, so many remnants of typhoons like this. So there would probably just be another episode in this. And of course, if you really want to, some people covering this as make this like a political issue, I'm not interested in that. But you know, if that does verify, that's something you have to look forward to, because that has happened again and again over the past few years.
This is Hualien right now, a lake there in Hualien County. Looks like they're getting quite a lot of... Well, it's hard to tell actually, but I imagine from the poor visibility that there's a lot of rain there, but it's looking very still. Very few winds at this point over there. But that's another viewpoint out of the many that we've got right now. And in Hualien City, it looks like this, very calm and quiet there. You may remember this camera actually from the earthquake that happened in this area. That was this year, wasn't it?
Oh
Much
yeah, yeah. Wow.
So we were watching that with interest when that happened. But a calm street view there, and another viewpoint from Yilan further north, and a cityscape view here, looking relatively quiet. It is looking all quiet on the coastline, and it's not a surprise because we are seeing that the northwestern side of the storm is compressed to a degree. You look at it here, the northwestern side is probably the weakest side, stretching out over a wide area, when you've got the other sides there throwing up lots of convection. On the southwest there is a big band that's pushing up, possibly towards the coast of Kaohsiung City there. But what are we missing? We're missing a decent eye, aren't we, appearing on this satellite imagery, as one of our commenters has just said. Start your message with Force 13 all in text on our YouTube chat. Hopefully I can drop in on the Facebook chat as well. Hurricane Altony Bronze says, how big is the eye? Look back at this radar imagery and it would appear that the eye is quite small. I am not sure, judging just off this, how large the eye actually is. But I reckon it's pretty small.
Perhaps that is why GWC are so confident in rapidly intensifying, because the eye is quite small.
It certainly could. I am just trying to... I can't even find our live feed. Oh, it's there. Shows me not being able to navigate around various places. But yeah, you can see better radar quality as the storm gets closer. Indeed, if it starts to turn more westerly soon, we'll start to see more better resolution on this satellite imagery, radar imagery shortly as we get later on into the evening. So a lot going on with this storm. It is a powerful storm. The last major typhoon landfall in Taiwan was from Nipatak in 2016. That was it could have been much stronger. It was, of course, a very powerful Category 5. It weakened quite a lot just before landfall. It was still a Category 3 by the time it got there. And every so often on the automated feed that we've been showing, we had a little feature as well showing some of those storms in question. So I'll let that roll on as we continue talking here, if I can get it running. Oh yeah, here it is. So these are some of the major typhoon landfalls in Taiwan in July. And there's Typhoon Nadine there, another one, Typhoon Vera, that made landfall near Yilan on July 31st. A lot of them right at the end of the month as well, you'll notice. And it's keyed out terribly there. There we go. We'll fix that. So just a little view there on what those storms have done in the past. Another one, Typhoon Andy, back in 1982. That was a very tiny typhoon that, or tiny structure as it was moving in, but it was much broader than that on the outsides. Look at this beautiful image of Typhoon Tim from the space shuttle at the time. On July 10th, 1994, made landfall in Taiwan as well. I think it was still a Category 4. That was a powerful one. And several others did so as well in the last few decades. That one actually took a relatively similar track to Gaemi right now, and on its forecast a little bit further south. Of course, Typhoon Herb, that was a very well-known storm as well, a Category 5 at peak. Category 4 when it made landfall. That was much further towards the north. There it is on the picture. Moved through the southern Japanese islands with a very powerful looking eye there. Weakened a little bit before it made its actual landfall. It took a massive jog northwards as it did so. And after that it was Typhoon Taraji, a Category 3 landfall near Fengbin on July 29th. That was a rather small typhoon there, and it was just getting going when it made its landfall. It's a powerful Category 3, and that one threw itself up towards northern China later on too. And then of course Typhoon Nipatak, which made landfall near Taimali on July 7th was that. 2016, of course, everyone remembers Nipatak, very powerful storm indeed. And that one, we were really worried about that actually being a Category 5 landfall. Well, it didn't quite get there, thankfully. It capitulated quite a lot before reaching. It was moving a bit too slowly, wasn't it?
It could have been, but thankfully it wasn't. That would be a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I think it moved a bit too slowly, and it just that the mountains got to it before it actually got there. People suggesting that it might be a pinhole eye. Well, that's quite possible. You look at that radar on the top right there, a zoomed out version, and I'm just seeing some of those Philippine islands compared to it, and it is tiny. I'm just trying to maybe get a read on this. The eye can't be more than about 6 miles wide, actually.
Oh, that is tiny.
So, yeah, that's a pinhole. That's powerful. Let's see if we can show you some more views of the storm right now. Here it is. This is on Ram Slider, where you can and of course the Force 13 website has tons of different satellite products as well, but this is from RAM, and you can see again the progression of the storm there. Not all of the imagery on here is up to date all the time, unfortunately. Let's see if we can get band 13 and see if that one's up to date. And it is, actually, so you can get a decent idea of where we're up to with this storm right now. And for those wondering, if we just move left a bit, over there, that's what's left of Prapiroon. That was a brief typhoon as well. It had a very small stature, which I reckon allowed it to strengthen quite quickly as it moved over Hainan. Didn't weaken at all over Hainan, by the way. And became a typhoon into Vietnam, moved further west than expected, still is. It's probably going to stall in place for a little while there, could drop quite a lot of rain in parts of northern Vietnam as well. But moving to the right again, here is Typhoon Gaemi, and maybe getting some more indications on this satellite imagery whether it's improving. But certainly a concern when you look back at that radar imagery and what does appear to be a pinhole eye, only about 6 miles wide from what we can establish. 10 kilometers or so. But definitely a tight core, and it does pave the way with those very warm sea surface temperatures and high amounts of oceanic heat content. It is prime here for rapid intensification. What do we expect will happen? I've never tried this before, but I assume it will allow me to draw on this, that it will eventually curve and move into land. Of course, we have cones of uncertainty for a reason. I would say it's unlikely it will go south of that. It could still go north of there, and so the center of the storm could end up anywhere along here. You can draw this circle here. This point there is where it will be, where we expect it will be, at about, I think, 3 p.m. local time on Wednesday. We'll have to see how that verifies and whether landfall will be sooner or after that. Of course, storms sometimes can have a little bit of bother when they get closer to Taiwan. Once they're really getting going, it can really cause storms to wobble about a lot before they get to land. We've seen that a few times.
In fact, to chime in, an opinion of an expert, quote unquote, James Reynolds from Earth Uncut TV, a very veteran storm chaser over in the Western Pacific, regarding Gaemi's path over the next 24 hours. He said that he expect it would either take its time and do a bit of a loop just off the coast, which is what you said about having a bit of a border as it approaches land due to the mountains, or in a more quicker possibility would either veer sharply north or south before finally making landfall in Taiwan. So that's what he thinks is likely over the next 24 hours as we approach landfall.
All right, well, let's take a look at the GFS ensembles, because they have plenty of different scenarios usually. Let's see what they've got for us tonight. Looking at this imagery here, and you can see the typhoon on the left, all of those red things near the center of it, those are all numbers, pressure estimates of the storm, and you'll see they'll all start to scatter a little bit as it gets closer to land. But look at that, actually, really tight agreement there on a landfall. Some readings take it quite far south there along Taiwan, but as for timing, and actually, you know, pretty much all of them have some kind of stalling just as it gets to the coast as well. We're talking we're talking evening hours tomorrow, and then on towards China, quite slow. And then after that we see a little bit more of a dispersal there, scattering of readings. They end up going all over the place, but probably taking it further north through China as a depression or remnant low. which will produce a lot of rain.
That's certainly not good, considering, like, historical time, we know how bad the flooding from excessive rain could be. Of course, the most severe case is Marcotte all the way back in 2009, and that thing was only a Category 1. So it kind of really shows you that when it comes to stalling storm that dumps lots of rain on Taiwan, the category doesn't matter. As long as it just sits there for a long time and dump rain, it will be a whole lot of trouble regardless.
A couple more satellite views here. That's a wide shot right now. This is the Zare imagery as well, and you can see how that's looking there from the Force 13 website. And that's that latest radar. Let's see if there's any new frames on this. I think that's the latest that we've got. I think it has actually updated. Maybe a slight weakness in the northwestern side there. It's quite difficult. It's on quite low res. But once again, you can see those brighter colours on the left-hand side as it enters the higher resolution range fairly soon by the looks of things. Let's see if we can get some questions right now. Autobus MHD, thank you for becoming a member. It's great to have you on board with us on our autobus. Do we think that the Invest 94W will become a Typhoon? There's rumblings of another area of interest off the Philippines, probably from Invest 94W. It's still uncertain at the minute. We're giving a 20% chance in the next 7 days. We're still not sure exactly where it's going to form. And didn't Koinu make a Category 4 landfall last year? I can't remember.
Well, I did remember it was a typhoon, hence what I said earlier about a typhoon landfall drought coming to an end, but I do not remember the category. I just remember it was a typhoon.
Koinu clipped the southern tip of Taiwan on October 5th last year. I remember the later part of it. I think officially it was just below. I'm trying to figure this out here. I'm not sure. It depends who you ask. JTWC, I think they had it still as a Cat 3. But JMA, I think only had it as a Cat 1 or 2. So it's a possible one, Koinu. I reckon we could probably add that to the list. Right on the very southern tip of Taiwan. Logan says, what is our opinion on the National Hurricane Center designating the Central Pacific as a 10%? Do you think we will finally have Hone? Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
that's an eternal meme. It has become almost eternal. Huh?
Well, whilst we're here, we can show you what's going on the National Hurricane Center side of things in the rest of the Pacific, the East Pacific. Here's the National Hurricane Center's outlook right now, showing these two East Pacific systems, 30% on that right-hand side one and 20% on the other one. And Central Pacific, they have marked a little, actually 0. So it's not going to happen, guys. And what a poor start to the Eastern Pacific we've had so far. We're still stuck at just one named storm, and it was barely a tropical storm. A letter, 40 miles per hour, lasted about 12 hours, hardly did anything small. It's been an absolutely woeful start to the Eastern Pacific, at least the worst start since 1948, and it may be even longer than that. We just haven't done the research yet.
Oh.
It's incredible.
Well, someone would not be happy about that. I'm not gonna
incredible how poor.
You know who. You know who.
We know. The Eastpak fan of the century. Anyways, people saying hello in the chat there at us. What are our thoughts on 94? Everyone's asking about 94W, it seems, rather than what we've got in front of us. But once again, low chance at the minute, but it could creep up later on. Geodexilian says JTWC is expecting a Category 4 possible landfall. It's expecting 140 miles per hour off the coast of Taiwan, and that it is. Once again, there's the JTWC forecast cone. I don't think they'll have updated yet, but we'll just check. 90 knots is the current intensity given, 105 miles per hour, calling for 140 miles per hour on the run-up to potential landfall, and then making a powerful landfall, Category 3 or 4, according to their forecast, which is pretty impressive. From what we saw earlier on the little feature that we did, I think there's been one Category 5 landfall in...
I do remember seeing a
July.
bright red, almost pink dot. Yes, there was one.
It was a long time ago, that's why it wasn't featured in the pictures, because we didn't have any pictures of it. I think it was Winnie or something like that in 1958, something like that. Farhan, what's going on there?
Just some chatter, background chatter, don't mind it.
Okay. Daniel says, a long way out in the models, have we noticed a tropical wave on the GFS approaching Florida in the and from the Gulf, I think, in 7 to 10 days' time. Interesting. We haven't marked anything, so I'm not going to consider it right now. Is it still possible for typhoons to have lightning bolts just like hurricanes? Well, look, they are exactly the same things we're talking about here. They just have different names.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's the core thing about it. They're all the same things, just that each region have different names for it.
Namento says, is Super Typhoon possible? It's forecasted to be a Category 4. I think it is possible. It's going to have to be quite speedy, though, if it's going to do that, even for its tiny core.
Possible, yes. Probable, not exactly comfortable in saying that. But possible, yes, if that's the question.
There was tons more questions that came in, which they've just disappeared just a second. Do we agree with the National Hurricane Center designated at 10% yesterday in the Central Pacific, or that was that same question? Well, it's down to near zero now. Does the storm go further north if Gaemi gets stronger than expected? Not really. It could miss the northern tip of Taiwan, but I would still expect that some very strong winds would stay on shore there.
Yeah, probably.
And similar questions to what we're... Why did we put Praparoon as a typhoon? Now, I don't think that's very contentious. However, I do note that the JWC, I don't think, ever went with typhoon status. So, well, I was going to ask your thoughts, Farhan, but you sort of just said there that you thought it was a typhoon. Do you want to add anything to that?
It was. I agree with you completely when you said that it did manage to get to typhoon ever so briefly, and it is quite interesting to see a storm being able to do that where it is. You kind of don't expect a storm to be able to strengthen at that position in the Western Pacific. You can expect it to just weaken. So yeah, it was interesting, even though it probably wouldn't really get talked about much, especially compared to the storm currently that we have, Gaemi.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me just double check what that statistic was about that Category 5 landfall in Taiwan in July. It was... Who was it? It was Winnie of 1958. I did get it. Now, who knows whether it actually was or not. It seems a bit suspect because 6 hours before landfall it was 140 miles per hour, and then at landfall it was 175 miles per hour. So
You know, that's
it's a little bit suspect.
yeah, that's an right there. That's an
And that's just for the month of July. There's been quite a few other Category 5 landfalls in Taiwan. Can you think of any, Farhan?
Well, the only one that comes immediately to mind is, and this is because of how legendary of a moment it was High Tang back in 2005. But I only remember it because of the incredible moment, the fact that it was a Category 5 at the same time as Emily in the Atlantic, and that's sort of just the reason why I remember it so fondly. Although I think High Tang was just about to be downgraded when Emily reaches Category, but still, it counts, and that's in terms of strong storm that hit Taiwan. That's the only one that immediately pops to mind. There was another storm in 2011, but I forgot its name. I just know there was one during 2011.
Well, Haitang wasn't a Category 5 at landfall. It was some way off it.
No.
Some others that did
wasn't.
it. Billis in 2000, which people may remember. And after that, you got to go back a very long way. After that, it's Opal in 1962. Again, whether that actually happened or not, we don't really know. Joan, 1959, very powerful storm. I reckon that definitely was. And I think that's all of them. Yeah, that is all of them. So it is very rare at any time of year for a Category 5 landfall, isn't it? Oh, it's very rare for this to happen so early in the season, or even at all at any point during the year. And Beryl did half of those things that even September storms couldn't do in the Atlantic. So,
I mean, one thing
the
I will
context
say
of
about
that, we can never be too sure.
I mean, one last thing that I will say about Beryl, and I think I also said this in the one live chat was in on the whole coverage saga, is that you certainly don't really expect a B name storm to do that. Like, yeah, only with the B name storm. The last time a B name storm got that strong and got that infamous was the 1960s. So in terms of our modern views, we don't expect that kind of thing from a B name storm. Like the A name storm, yeah, perhaps if the season starts late, like for example, Alan or Andrew, but from B name storm, almost never. So I guess that's probably one of the reasons why it was so shocking something. But yeah, but your point, even though we can say things like it's unexpected, it's unprecedented, this is rare to happen at this time of the year, or even really throughout the rest of the year, these things do happen. It does happen, and so you really, even though you should keep a skeptical and rational eye on it, you should never really rule things out, because when it happens, it just happens. Sometimes all rules and conventions go out the window.
Ugh, don't you just hate it when that happens? We're looking at a few cameras once again right now. This is a Taitung, one of the closest cameras that we've got. And this particular location, let me just quickly try and get a position estimate, how far it is away from the center of the storm. It's about 318 kilometers away. So again, at that distance, you'd probably start to feel stuff. But the northwestern side is a bit compressed, so it's still pretty calm there, and all along the east coast, from what we've been seeing on these cameras tonight, it has been pretty quiet. Of course, I imagine a lot of this will be changing as we continue our live coverage over the next couple of days. I expect we will be, unless we see some kind of unexpected capitulation of the storm, which I really don't think so. It looks well on its way to be strengthening. We just saw that radar imagery a few moments ago again as well. If we just bring that back, there it is, and a new frame there as well. It does look like the western side might be having a little bit of trouble, but it is a very tight eye there, and I think it is quite reasonable to call it pinhole. Somewhere around 6 miles wide is the estimate that we've given it, about 10 kilometers. And we are multi-streaming right now, live on YouTube and Facebook, so it's nice to see everyone from both platforms there. and we hope to do some more of those as we try and get our infrastructure back up and running, because we've been too scared to do it since we had some errors last August. But we're back now anyways. After this stream finishes, we'll probably finish at the top of the hour. Our YouTube viewers will be redirected to the automated feed, which is live 24/7. If you remember it during Beryl, it's not gone anywhere. It was there the whole time. It's still running right now, showing the latest on Typhoon Gaemi and what's left of Prappy Rune. Start your message with Force 13 all in text in the chat to talk about the storm and anything else. How big is Typhoon Gaemi? Well, there's a few different measuring sticks that you can use, whether you want to talk about the extent of the storm force winds, or whether you want to talk about the cloud cover associated with the storm, how far that extends outwards. Quite a lot, by the way. Some of the cloud cover you could say associated with the storm extending all the way down to the southern part of Palawan in the Philippines and as far north as Okinawa. So that would be a distance of 2,300 kilometers. As for the storm force winds, probably about 400 kilometers diameter, and the central core about 120 kilometers. Shin says, is it possible for it to rapidly intensify? Absolutely. We may already be seeing
That's what
it.
we broadcasted. And in fact, I see a few messages on channel just saying that the high is 30 IR, but from the latest frame that I'm seeing, I think that's maybe just a gap in the convection. So I don't know. I don't think. I mean, it would be incredible if we get to witness it live here. But from what I'm seeing on your stream, it doesn't seem like that's what's happening right now.
Question about the last time Taipei got a direct hit from a typhoon. That's a good question. A few have hit, although there have been very few that have managed to trace exactly over Taipei, and they were a long time ago in general. But the closest one really is probably Typhoon Sinlaku in 2008. Made a Category 3 landfall near Yilan, I think it was, and moved through Taipei as a Category 2. And some Hone comments there. Sorry?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Just
I thought you going because the comments went right off that side. It's never mind then.
No, just a Hone related comment there. And TC Animates Extra says, I think it will wobble through Taiwan due to the mountain effect, a lot like Haikui of last year. Yep, a lot of storms do. Sinlaku did that, I just mentioned. Did a little loop-the-loop before it went through Taipei. And how large is
James Reynolds
wind field? I will just see if I can grab a viewpoint for you on that one. I'm trying to load up a few things at the same time here. But I expect it is a significant size. What I'm seeing here is Northeast Quadrant is about 190 miles. So gale force wind diameter is roughly 350 miles, maybe a little bit more. So pushing close to 600 kilometers in diameter. That sounds like a lot.
That sounds a lot more than what it looks. I can say that much.
Yeah, well, the cloud cover isn't always the window, is it? So It's about right. Somewhere near 600 kilometers diameter, northeast to southwest. Southeast to northwest, I think, is a little bit, slightly less. Oh, in fact, I can show you a visual depiction. Just a second. I've just got to wait for this thing to load. But as of right now, we're looking at some different imagery at this time. We're looking at this, how this visible imagery has been changing over the last few hours. Day turning into night. Okay, yes, here's a good visual depiction of the storm right now. So the blue band there is the 34 knot winds, 40 miles per hour, gale force. So extending quite a distance away from the centre, but obviously not reaching the coast yet of Taiwan. The red one is the typhoon force winds there, which according to this extends out 40 nautical miles northeast, which is nearly 80 kilometres. If it works, I'll also show you another viewpoint of satellite imagery. It's not as good as I thought it would be, to be honest, but you get the idea. I'm just going through some of the real Earth image repository right now. There's another good viewpoint there of the storm. See if we can get a small animation going on that. So this is what there we go. That's what it's been up to for the last hour or so, and perhaps we are starting to see the eye emerging a little bit more on this imagery. We'll throw it back to this RAM view right now, and let's just get an update on this particular viewpoint. We're seeing it there too, a little bit. There's a little bit going on in there. I believe we're joined once again by Kin, and showing their screen, I think. Let me just, it's going to take me a little minute to get this up and running here. It's another thing that we didn't fully plan for. Alright, we're looking at Kin's screen right now, showing a viewpoint from, I assume, Pagasa. Showing a lot of rain over the Philippines right now along the northwestern side of Luzon, and also on the southwestern part there as well, getting a fair bit there too. I'm struggling to read what that says. It's per hour, millimeters per hour. So at one point there, one location is showing 44 along the west coast there, 44 millimeters per hour. Certainly a substantial amount of rain. And towards the southwestern tip of Luzon there as well, getting up towards 25 millimeters per hour as well. So thanks to Kin for showing us that. Let's get some more.
Well, now that Kin has just brought up about the rain in the Philippines, I earlier found this regarding how the rain looks visual-wise on the ground. I don't know where that is in the Philippines, but basically this showed that although perhaps it's not the worst rain possible for the Philippines from the typhoon, it certainly is enough to cause flooding.
Yeah, that reading is close to Vigan. So, in fact, it's directly over there. So, substantial rainfall over there at Vigan City. Now, let's see if we've got some more comments here. Do we agree that Taiwan destroys typhoons real fast? It does a decent job,
I
doesn't
wouldn't
it?
quite put it like that.
It does a decent job. Of all the very strong storms that have made landfall in Taiwan, Nipatak landfall, it weakened from a Cat 5 before it even made landfall. And actually, that's probably the best example, because Nipatak was decimated by Taiwan. 6 hours after it emerged on the other side into the Taiwan Strait, it had gone down to tropical storm status, and when it finally made landfall in China about 18 hours later near Guangzhou, it weakened to a depression.
The destroyer, all right.
That was actually one of the most dramatic examples, I think. Billis fared quite a bit better, though, so it doesn't always happen. Billis making a Category 5 landfall, it was still a Category 4 by the time it moved into China. Moving a bit quicker, though. I think it really depends on the movement speed.
That is the key, how fast it moves. If it moves fast enough, then maybe we'll just be able to get through the mountains quickly enough that it will be able to maintain strength. But if it goes too slow, then rest in peace.
Well, you gotta wonder what's happening on this radar imagery right now. I think this could be an IWAR replacement cycle. This tiny pinhole eye, obviously the smaller they are, the less likely they are likely to... The less long they're likely to last. So it could be a quick EWRC that we're watching right now. Certainly an opening there, but I think it's got decent wraparound from a more exterior eye wall there, which in itself isn't going to be that large if this is indeed an eye wall replacement cycle.
No.
The new eye is probably only about 15 miles, if that, wide.
So bigger, but not bigger per se.
And small by Typhoon standards, because everything's bigger in the Western Pacific. Bigger storms, bigger eyes. That's true. It's more rare to see a pinhole like this in the Western Pacific, except perhaps in the more marginal seas like the South China Sea, and but usually we see much larger scale storms in the Western Pacific than we do in, say, the Atlantic. Let's see if we've got some more questions right now as we keep watching this. And if this is an IWAR replacement cycle, then perhaps it's part of the reason why we're starting to see it open up a little bit more on satellite imagery as well. Luke Renshaw saying that there appears to be an eye visibly forming on current infrared frames.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, what I said earlier. People are saying that, oh, the eye's popping up.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit. Will China have typhoon force winds too? There's actually a wind speed probability chart, and I'm just going to get it now, from RAL, and this is what they reckon the wind speed probabilities are based on the GEFS model runs ensembles. So it's a non-zero chance, but it's still quite unlikely according to this model at the moment. I wouldn't be so sure about that. I mean, it should still be quite a powerful storm. I suppose maybe for the models we're a bit confused that Taiwan's in the way and it may not be able to see past that, perhaps. But I reckon there is a fair chance of typhoon conditions along the coast of China, northwest of Taiwan. Which sort of area would that be? Somewhere near Fuzhou, somewhere like that, I reckon. Large city as well, could be impacted by powerful winds. And indeed, that's what the JTWC is effectively saying in their last cone as well. They'll be updating fairly soon. Let me see if I can get some ATCF data ahead of time. Maybe get a little read on what they're going to be going. They're actually going to be running probably with 110 miles per hour at this next update. I suppose I'm not that surprised by that. It's only a little bit higher than what it is now, but nearly nearly Category 3 status based on that projection. Yeah, that's all right now. So it does look like it'll be upgraded a little bit further there too. Questions about Hypo-Earth. Oh dear. Hypo-Earth went wrong this year because why was it? I can't even remember now. Why things? I think we had some kind of software problems. Yeah, we did, and it erased everything. That's right, it erased everything. Because we've had so many problems with software on these machines this year. The whole planned hypo stuff was destroyed at the start of February. Or was it March? I can't
It's
remember now.
unfortunate.
So, there you go. The rain has just started to get stronger here in Abra in the Philippines. Reminds me of when Doc Suri was about to make a close approach to the islands near Cagayan. I wonder what if Kin has any thoughts on what's going on over there. I don't know if you can speak right now.
Probably what destroyed his connection earlier was because he was trying to speak.
No, can't have been. How big of a rainfall threat is this typhoon compared to Morakot? Of course, that storm wasn't particularly strong, but it pushed huge amounts of rain. I can't remember how much though, so I can't.
Huge.
I'm not sure I can answer the question because I can't remember how much rain it actually produced. And I can't find out on my database either because the PC crashed just before we went live today and the database is gone. So there's another thing. And Daniel says that the storm is moving over sea surface temperatures of near 31 degrees Celsius. That is about right. Temperature's very warm underneath the storm right now. And will Gaemi be the same size as Morakot? I don't remember what the size of it is either.
Well, the storm core itself of Morakot was not that big, I can tell you that much. But in terms of the rain band, it was massive. So you would say earlier about the many different stakes you could use to measure a storm. That in terms of those two metrics, then it really varies quite widely.
See if we can have a few more viewpoints on this imagery as well. As we continue to look at this storm, it does appear to be intensifying right now. And the eye possibly showing signs of appearing in those latest frames here. Let's see if we can go back to some more viewpoints in Taiwan. Here's one that we haven't seen so far because we can't see much on it. But that's at the harbour there at Taitung. There's that viewpoint again at Hualien. Still looking awfully calm though. And once again the view at Yilan. Calm, possibly a bit wet there, can't quite tell. But the winds are staying away at the minute, but that is expected to change as we get into tomorrow. We'll throw it back to Taipei once more here. Viewpoint there, beautiful looking. Cloud has come and gone. A little bit more cloudy right now there as well. There were clearer parts earlier in the hour. But a decent scene there. Let's throw it back to that radar imagery again. Oh, it really looks like an eyewall replacement cycle has taken place, and a very quick one too.
Wow, that is very quick, wow.
So that seems to be where we're up to right now. A quick eyewall replacement cycle, it appears. A bit of a larger eye now taking form, and it will probably become much more notable on satellite imagery pretty soon, or overnight tonight. It looks like this storm is intensifying.
Certainly can't wait to see how it looks like in the morning.
Well, we'll be here for that as well. We'll see how we do with more live coverage in the morning, but as of right now, we are going to finish up here. We're going to throw it to our automated stream for our YouTube viewers, and we'd also like to thank people watching us on Facebook as well tonight. But This is Typhoon Gaemi, which is about to head into Taiwan. We expect landfall will be tomorrow afternoon or evening, depending on how fast it moves. It could be a slow mover by the time it gets there. It could be one that does a jagged approach. It could do a loop before it makes landfall, like Sinlaku did, and some other storms. But right now, it really appears to be on an uptrend. Looks like JTWC are about to give it 110 miles per hour. High-end category 2, and it looks like it's going to get to major status and probably category 4 as it approaches land. Quite a few storms have done it in the past, even in July, but nonetheless it's certainly one to be preparing for extensively. Along with the strong winds, we could be looking at very high amounts of rain exceeding 1,000 millimeters, maybe even approaching 1,500 millimeters when the storm arrives, and those will mainly be distributed over the southern and central mountains of Taiwan. Any final word from Kian or Farhan there?
It's certainly living out right now at an interesting juncture, because we probably are witnessing the beginning of the anticipated strengthening phase. So it will be interesting to see where the storm is at 12 hours from now. And depending on how strong it is, we could be looking at a very serious situation.
All right. Thanks very much to the team for joining me today, and we will have more updates soon on our channel and on social media. It is closing in on land. It's about 300 kilometers away and drawing nearer. So it's going to start to get felt a lot more along the coast of Taiwan later tonight, and especially as we get into tomorrow morning. But that's it from us. We're now going to go to our automated feed.